The ancient Bedouins say that at night, the stones move.
There are places in the Arabian Peninsula where the path of man ends. The Bedouins call that plateau, filled with black, volcanic rocks stretching for hundreds of miles, the ārrat.
These places are known as the sanctuaries of the jinn.
Our story followed this difficult path about an elderly gem collector, Saheb, and his young assistant, Khalid. Saheb was one of the most experienced merchants of the desert. Though age had left its mark, his eyes held the sharp addiction of finding gems.
On the other hand, Khalid was strong, but he still had little experience with the desert's true dangers. They had meager supplies, 2 camels, and a tent.
There was no question of using modern equipment, as there was no need for it on this path.
We had just passed the last settlement. While adjusting the camel's reins, Saheb asked Khalid.
Khalid, no ordinary person goes further from here. Are you sure?
Uncle Sahib, are you sure? This path is terrifying.
Just broken black stones and scorched earth. There are no trees or springs here.
This is the eastern side of Ārrat Rahat. The stones here are not ordinary.
The gem we are searching for is found right here. Al-Hajar al-Aswad, that rare black rock.
Its price is more than gold. And to get it, we must take a little risk.
Khalid, shrinking in fear, said he had heard that the cries of jinn could be heard here.
The ancient Bedouins say that at night, the stones move.
Fear of jinn is for those who deviate from the path of Allah. We have come in the name of Allah. Don't be afraid. But remember, there is another danger on this path.
What was that danger? Khalid eagerly wanted to know.
Saheb said, 1,000 years ago, a race called the Al-Nasīs lived here.
They feared no man. They worshipped only one thing: silence.
Folklore says they inscribed all their knowledge and curses upon a black rock. The Bedouins say that whoever spends too much time in their territory forgets their own identity.
His soul becomes trapped within the stones as a whispering sound. Saheb whipped the camels back.
When the sun began to tilt west from midday, they reached a place in the ārrat where the shapes of the stones were unnatural. It seemed as if not nature, but some immense power had broken and arranged the stones.
Khalid was tying up the camels and clearing a space for the tent.
Astonished, Khalid asked Saheb, "Uncle, these stones aren't ordinary. How did they become so smooth?"
It seems as if someone has carved them from the inside. This is the art of the Al-Nasīs, Khalid. Their art was silence and stone.
Saheb showed him how a pile of rocks was blocking their path. The sides of the pile were very narrow. There was nothing but black stones and more stones. As they proceeded through that narrow path, Khalid whispered, "Why is it so dark here? The sun hasn't set yet." Saheb couldn't finish his reply. He suddenly stopped.
This was the language of the Al-Nasīs. Saheb realized their kingdom was on this very path. Frightened, Khalid reminded Saheb not to touch anything of the curse. This is not a curse, Khalid. This is history.
They moved forward. Ahead lay a vast, flat plain. In the middle of that plain was just one thing.
Khalid shouted in amazement. What is that? Saheb's eyes now had the gleam of a gem hunter.
He said, Al-Hajar al-Aswad, our treasure. I have never seen such a large rock in my life.
The monolith reflected no light. Instead, it seemed to be absorbing it.
Beside that huge black monolith, Saheb and Khalid set up their tent. They were eating in the lamplight. Khalid clutched his head and said,
My head is aching, Uncle.
"And?"
There's no sound here.
Even in the desert at night, there's at least the sound of wind. But here, it's completely silent. Saheb, diverting his attention from the food, said, Silence. This was the worship of the Al-Nasīs people.
They believed that silence was the root of knowledge.
Khalid still felt uneasy. He couldn't understand why so much silence would be a good thing. Saheb stood up and walked towards the monolith. Its surface was smooth, but in the darkness, a faint light seemed to emanate from within.
He touched the stone and said, It is no ordinary rock.
Al-Nasīs used to say, it holds knowledge. Saheb then tried to break off a small piece of the stone with his dagger.
The monolith was so hard that his dagger slipped. Khalid, terrified, screamed,
No, Uncle! Don't break it!
He said that touching this stone makes a person forget their name. But Saheb then turned to look at Khalid. His eyes held an unnatural gleam.
Khalid, what is your name? Do you remember it?
Khalid was startled. My name is Khalid. Why? Don't you know?
There was no question in his voice, as if he were just discovering the fact. He said, "What is my name? Who am I?"
Khalid realized the curse had begun. Terrified, he started repeating Saheb's name.
Khalid! Your memory, your identity. This stone will absorb everything.
Saheb suddenly ran towards the tent. Khalid stood there, stunned. Saheb entered the tent and stabbed all his food and water skins with his dagger. The food and water mixed into the sand.
Khalid screamed, No, Uncle! Don't waste the food! But Saheb came out of the tent.
He was standing in the realm of the Whispering Stone. But he was no longer Saheb.
Why are you running? Come here. The stone will set you free.
Forget who you are. As Khalid backed away in terror, he realized the camels had already fled in fear. They had no way of survival left. Before him now was only a terrifying, memoryless man who was his teacher, and now is a new enemy. Khalid then started running to save his life, towards that dark, black labyrinth of stones.
When Saheb emerged from the tent with a dagger in hand, his eyes were a terrifying, bloodshot red.
He was no longer Saheb, but a victim of the Whispering Stone's curse, a hollow shell of himself. Khalid understood that his current peril was not the desert's thirst, but rather his most trusted companion. To save his life, Khalid began to run like a madman, heading straight for the Black Stone Labyrinth.
The camels had already fled in fear, and inside the tent, Saheb had destroyed all the water and food. Khalid quickly touched the small leather water skin tied to his waist. Only a little water remained inside it.
Besides that, he had only a sharp dagger. This was his last remaining resource, his final tool for survival.
Khalid ran through the gaps in the stones.
his heart pounding with fear and adrenaline in his veins. Behind him, he could hear the slow, yet certain, footsteps of his pursuer, the man who was once Saheb. Saheb wasn't shouting, but his gait was unnaturally steady, as if he wasn't even touching the ground at all.
He was not a man, but a silent predator, born of the very black stones that surrounded them now.
Gasping for breath, Khalid managed to hide himself behind a massive, shadowy stone, his body trembling with fear.
His eyes were locked forward, as if he were following not a scent, but some kind of invisible command. As Saheb walks away, he begins to whisper.
Memory? Where is the memory?
Khalid realized Saheb wasn't looking for him personally, but for anyone whose memories were still completely intact. Khalid knew it was impossible to follow Saheb, who now knew every single turn of this treacherous path. Navigating the treacherous path, Khalid clutches an amulet and whispers a silent prayer, his only recourse now being faith. Khalid reached a place where there was no path, only towering walls of black stone surrounding him completely.
The path lies north, Khalid. It is the only way out.
That sound showed him a path to the north, but Khalid knew his destination was to the east.
Look at the walls. We are waiting for you. You can't leave this place. There is no light. Only darkness.
You have lost your way, not east. Go back. Go back and sleep.
Khalid was stunned. He finally understood that these ancient stones were speaking directly to his weary mind.
What is your name, Khalid? What was your father's name? Forget.
They tried to convince him that memory is sorrow, memory is fear, and that only forgetting brings release.
I am Khalid!
He understood that this battle was not against the desert, but against the erasure of his own memories. He reached a place where the stone walls formed a huge, smooth circle, the entrance to a temple. Gasping for air, Khalid saw a hole in the stone, large enough for a person to enter. He gathered his courage and stepped inside. There was no light, but a strange, faint blue glow.
As his eyes adjust, an ethereal blue light reveals itself.
On the walls, the ancient symbols of the Al-Nasīs were carved with even greater clarity and precision. Beside the pool of water lay Saheb, now completely calm, his eyes closed in a state of emptiness. The water was utterly still and black, yet it reflected the moon and stars of the open night sky. Near the pool, a terracotta tablet rested on a small stone table, inscribed with the Al-Nasīs script.
We wanted to be immortal.
We are the chains you forged in fear, the vines grown from regret. We placed our memories into this stone, and the stone became time.
Khalid understood. This was not a curse. It was not a punishment, but a liberation they had willingly embraced. He looked towards the well. The black water was attracting him with its silent, mysterious, and powerful pull. But just at that moment, Saheb stirred from his slumber. The dagger fell from his hand, clattering loudly.
The dagger rolls to a stop, its tip just touching the stone edge of the pool with a soft, significant clink.
The vision shifts, showing a rapid montage of Saheb's entire life, the very memories that were stolen from him. And Khalid watches with dawning hope, realizing the water preserves the memories the stone takes, revealing the curse's weakness. Saheb opened his eyes. This time, the emptiness was gone, replaced by a deep, long-lasting exhaustion and pain.
Khalid! Where am I? What has happened to me?
Uncle Saheb! Do you recognize me?
My name is Saheb.
Your name is Khalid. Forgive me.
That stone tried to steal everything.
This water, it can save us. It holds both knowledge and our memories.
With renewed purpose, Saheb strains to push himself up, but his body is too weak from the ordeal and refuses to obey.
The curse was not fully broken. They now knew its weakness, the water of memory. But was safe?
Suddenly, a loud, heavy, scraping sound echoes from the entrance tunnel, shattering the silence and their hope. A horde of memoryless hunters now stood before them, their eyes as empty and dead as the stones. There was no longer any path for escape. They were completely and utterly trapped inside the ancient chamber.
Their only option now was to stand their ground and fight for their very lives and their memories.
Inspired, Saheb pushes himself to a sitting position, grabbing his own dagger with a shaky but firm, defiant grip. With no way out, they had to fight, not just for their lives, but for their very souls. But this relief did not last long. The heavy sound of stone scraping grew closer from the entrance.
Uncle Saheb! They are coming! The cursed ones!
They want to take my memories too.
Saheb, still not fully recovered, leaned against the ground. They are just slaves of the Al-Nasīs, Khalid. And the water only works when struck by light or sound.
The water works only when light or sound strikes it.
Their faces were filled with dust, but their eyes were reddish and vacant, just like Saheb's had been. Their only weapon was silence and psychological pressure. One of them, tall and swift, moved toward Khalid. Khalid felt his strength fading, the fear of forgetting his own name rising once again in his mind.
Stay away from me! I don't know you!
But the tall man did not reply. He simply extended his hand, as if to pull him away.
Don't fear the silence, Khalid. Fear the stone that is a slave to silence.
Use the strength of your voice.
Use the power of your voice. Khalid understood. The Al-Nasī worshipped silence.
Khalid!
Instantly, the tall man's pace slowed. His red eyes faded to a pale shade, as ill in doubt. But within a moment, he returned to normal and continued his approach toward Khalid, his eyes burning red.
No, not just the shout! The source of their curse is that water! Combine the light and sound in the pool's water!
Khalid understood. Still water holds memory. Stillness is their symbol. Agitation must be the key to their undoing. As the man came close, Khalid used his dagger to cut free his leather water skin. It was nearly empty, but he threw the little water that remained directly onto the tall man's face. A final, desperate act.
Where am I? Blood on my hands? Who? The tall man spoke in a weak voice. At that moment, the other two cursed men attacked. They moved swiftly towards the still weakened Saheb.
Saheb, still weak, took the terracotta tablet lying by the pool and held its sharp edge over the water. When the stone tablet struck the still water, a sharp, harsh sound erupted, like thunder in the silent room. Immediately, the whispers of the Al-Nasīs grew louder, as if their kingdom was being destroyed by this sound.
Stay back!
We finally have you, Saheb.
They both screamed, not with joy. My family, my child.
Uncle, no more delays! We have to get out of here now!
Khalid led the weak Saheb out of the cave through the cacophony of whispers, making their hasty escape.
Behind them, the whispers grew intense again. The cursed men might have their memories, but they were not free.
As they crossed the stone labyrinth, Khalid realized the sun had risen. The black stones looked more terrifying. Saheb, leaning on Khalid, kept his eyes on the Al-Nasīs script carved into the stone walls around them.
We are almost free, Khalid. But these stones, they can absorb memories. They will speak to us.
Khalid hurried Saheb along. They moved through the narrow path where they had first seen the ominous script.
Suddenly, Khalid pointed.
Uncle, look! It's our camels! They escaped, but they did not go far away.
There we go. Nice and tight. Don't worry, we'll be safe soon.
They climbed onto the camels' backs. The journey began. Khalid seated Saheb and took the reins himself. They were moving away from the black plateau of Ārrat as fast as they possibly could manage now.
The sun was at its peak. They crossed the realm of black stone and entered the path of gray sand.
Listen, Khalid, listen.
Listen, Khalid! Listen!
Khalid stopped the camel. He heard nothing but the desert wind.
You can't hear it? The whispers. They are still talking. Inside my ears.
Khalid looked at his uncle. Saheb's eyes were turning red again, this time from sheer mental exhaustion.
They are saying our names. They want our identities. They gave me my memory back, but now they want to take it again.
Khalid dismounted quickly. He saw foam coming from Saheb's mouth as he muttered things he could not understand. Desperate, Khalid pulled out his dagger. He scraped a small piece of the broken tablet from the dark pool.
Khalid uses the sharp tip of his dagger to carefully scrape the surface.
Khalid applied the powder to Saheb's forehead and ears. It seemed to have a strange, immediate effect on him.
Uncle, be calm. The black stone didn't just absorb memories. A piece of it has entered you. From now on, you will always hear those whispers. This is the ultimate curse of the Al-Nasīs.
Then I am no longer just Sahib, Khalid. I am also a part of that whispering stone. But at least I know who I am. And that is freedom.
Khalid urged the camels on. They left the black stones of ārrat behind them, knowing they found no treasure.
This was the story of Sahib and Khalid. They did not return from the black stones with any worldly riches.
The true treasure we found was not a physical object of wealth, but the fragile concept of one's own identity, reclaimed from the chaos.
And that silence does not always bring peace. Sometimes, silence gives birth to a truly terrifying curse.
The days after leaving the land of black stones were the most difficult of Khalid's entire life. They rode on camelback through the desolate sands, but the terrible curse of ārrat had not yet released them.
Though Sahib's body was on the camel, his mind was trapped in a prison of 1,000 haunting voices.
He endlessly heard whispers in his ear, ancient memories, and the identities of people long lost to time. Sometimes the whispers were the laments of the Thamud, other times the arrogant words of the Al-Nasīs.
Be silent! Get out of my head!
Then, in the next moment, he would regain control, trying to compose himself after the violent outburst.
I am here, Master. Look at me. You are Sahib, the traveler.
One night, as they continued their desperate journey, the curse suddenly tightened its grip on Sahib's soul. Without any warning, Sahib suddenly leaped from his camel, driven by the torment that haunted his mind.
He fell to his knees, pressing his head deep into the cool sand, as if to silence it.
They want my name! Khalid! They're going to take everything.
He was convinced they were going to take everything from him, to erase his very existence from memory.
Khalid quickly stopped his camel and rushed to Sahib's side, seeing the curse re-emerge in his master's eyes.
He saw his master's eyes turning reddish again, as if the curse was about to completely take hold.
Khalid then applied the powder from the broken stone directly onto Sahib's forehead, a desperate, final gambit. At once, Sahib grew calm, the violet storm within his mind momentarily silenced by the strange remedy.
Thank you, Khalid. You saved me. You saved me. We must travel quickly. These whispers don't just frighten, they deceive.
You reminded me of my identity.
If I ever forget you, if I lose myself to the voices, you must remind me of my name.
After a long and difficult journey, they finally approached a human settlement, a sign of life and hope. They saw the shelters of an ancient Bedouin tribe, a place where they could finally find rest and food.
The sheikh of the tribe, a very old man, saw an unnatural wisdom in Sahib's weary, haunted face.
O traveler, from where do you come? Your eyes do not hold the wariness of the desert, but rather the knowledge of many ages.
The camera zooms rapidly into Sahib's pupil, transitioning into his internal world.
Forgive my master, wise one. We lost our way in the sands and are weary from the journey.
We have been suffering for 3 days.
But the sheikh was not satisfied. Looking at Sahib, he explained,
The water in our wells suddenly ran dry. the Sheikh explained. Our tribe is now dying of thirst. We do not know what to do. If you can offer any solution, it would be a gift from Allah to us.
Sayeb listened, and the Sheikh's words mixed with the thousands of whispers that echoed in his ears. Among the whispers, he found the Al-Nasīs techniques for underground water storage and a hidden spring map.
This knowledge was thousands of years old, preserved as whispers within the cursed stone he now carried inside.
Sayeb stood up and walked with conviction toward an ordinary-looking hill in the middle of the desert.
He pointed with his hand and commanded, "Dig here. You will not have to go very deep at all."
The Al-Nasīs hid their water in this cistern. You will be able to drink from it.
The Sheikh was astonished, for the place was completely dry. But Sayeb's steady gaze convinced him to try.
What was that? I definitely hit something hard.
Keep digging, man. You actually found it.
When the stone was moved, a secret reservoir of pure water was revealed, and the tribe cried out. A montage begins, illustrating the profound change in Sayeb's life. He no longer wears the travel-stained robes of... He stayed with the Bedouin tribe, giving up his old life as a merchant to embrace his new purpose. His fame spread far and wide across the desert, and people began to call him Al-Arif, the Wise One.
They did not know his wisdom came from the whispers of men lost to time for 1,000 years.
Our prized falcon is lost, Master Sayeb. We are...
He is not lost. He is waiting for you in the highest...
He never told anyone about the curse, the true source of all his seemingly miraculous, prophetic knowledge.
1,000 camels lost in the sand.
The structural integrity relies on the muqarna.
Khalid always remained by his side, the sole keeper of his master's incredible and dangerous secret. He knew that Sayeb no longer used a dagger. His only weapons now were his memory and whispers.
Sayeb spent the rest of his life sharing the knowledge he possessed, a gift from his terrible curse.
I am afraid, Khalid.
Am I truly Sayeb?
I am growing weary, old friend. The path ahead is uncertain.
Have faith, Master. Your wisdom is the light that guides us all.
You are Sayeb, my uncle. You are the man who turned a curse that steals memory into a gift of knowledge.
Sayeb would smile then, a deep and profound smile that held no trace of sadness or of regret. For he knew that life's truest gem is not found in a black stone, but in our own identity. The real treasure is the identity we hold within our minds, the one thing that truly defines us.
They went searching for gems, but returned with the truth that memory.
The Al-Nasīs sacrificed their identity for immortality, but their memory became the most precious gem on earth.
Khalid is now an experienced merchant. He knows the paths of the desert better than any other man. But he never takes the path that leads towards ārrat, the land of the cursed black stone. He knows that the curse within his teacher is still awake, a slumbering power never to be disturbed.
And this story, which no one had ever heard before, will now forever drift on desert winds.
It will continue to be told, a whisper among the shifting sands.
This was the tale of Sayeb and Khalid and the curse of the black stone of cursed ārrat.
curse that sought to steal memory, but instead transformed itself into a truly